What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the MMA camp. Let's dive right in. Ian Garry has spoken out about the Shavkat Rakhmonov fight. UFC 310 might not have the welterweight championship up for grabs anymore, but as Ian the Future Garry highlighted, it's showcasing a clash between two undefeated rising stars in the sport. And let's be real, moments like that are incredibly rare. Originally, newly crowned champion Belal Muhammad was set to face Shavkat Rakhmonov at the December 7th event. However, a serious bone infection derailed those plans, sidelining him. This opened the door for Garry to step in and take on Rakhmonov. This fight has all the ingredients for something extraordinary. Garry boasts an undefeated 15-0 record, with 8 wins in the UFC. Meanwhile, Rakhmonov is a perfect 18-0, claiming victory in 6 octagon battles to date. With UFC 310 drawing closer, Garry's YouTube channel has been buzzing with pre-fight content. In one video, the Irish star explained why he's thrilled to face Rakhmonov, even though the Kazakh powerhouse has demolished nearly everyone who stood in his way.
Everybody's turning him down. 18-0, 18 finishes. That excites me. That doesn't scare me. That excites me. Everyone in the world thinks the guy's the boogeyman in the division. I'm going to go out there on December 7th and shock everyone else's world, because in my world, I'm going to beat him. What excites me about this fight is the fact that no one has solved this puzzle. No one has solved his jigsaw puzzle, and no one has solved mine. And both of us are going to win there and try and solve each other's puzzles. And I'm excited for that because it's something we don't see a lot in the UFC. We don't have a lot of elite level competition meeting each other at their undefeated stages in life, so I'm excited for this.
It's tough to disagree with Garry on this one, isn't it? Love him or hate him, Garry has turned into a polarizing figure over the past year, but even his harshest critics have to give him credit for stepping up against Rakhmonov. As the welterweight contender pointed out, there aren't many fighters volunteering to face Shavkat. Who do you think will be the first to lose their undefeated record at UFC 310, Rakhmonov or Garry? On a lighter note, Garry's channel also featured this adorable clip of his son throwing some serious punches at his dad.
Come on, dude. Let's go right now. Let's go. Let's go right now. Let's go. Let's go.
Next up, Jamahal Hill fires back at Jiří Procházka and Magomed Ankalaev over their comments. Both Jiří Procházka and Magomed Ankalaev have thrown verbal jabs at Jamahal Hill and his recent performances, and it's obvious the former light heavyweight champion isn't backing down. Hill hasn't stepped into the octagon since April, when he was knocked out in the first round by the current light heavyweight champ, Alex Pereira. That fight was Hill's first title defense since claiming the 205-pound crown in January 2023, with a win over Glover Teixeira. Unfortunately, a ruptured Achilles tendon cut Hill's reign short. Fast forward to now, and Hill is set to face Procházka at UFC 311 on January 18th. Procházka, who's also coming off a stoppage loss to Pereira, has fired back, claiming Hill shouldn't be commenting on his moves since, as Jiří put it, Jamahal didn't show anything against the champ. These comments clearly struck a nerve with Hill. In a recently shared video, the dangerous striker let loose on Procházka.
Bro, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So we had the same opponent last fight, right? Your last performance, you got dominated and knocked out, completely shut down, completely exposed, right? And then got done bad, bro. You got did bad. I got caught. You got dominated. It's a huge difference. You feel what I'm saying? My man's literally had your ponytail leaning to the left. I hope you wear that. I hope you wear that same ponytail in LA so I can lean that motherfucker to the left right back for you. Like this is insane.
Do you agree with Hill's claim that his loss to Pereira was worse than Jiří's second defeat to the Brazilian star? Just as a reminder, Procházka made it into the second round with Pereira in their rematch, just like he did in their first encounter back in 2023. Hill didn't hold back when addressing Ankalaev, who's been highly critical of the former champion. Here's what Hill had to say about the Dagestani contender. Mr. Ankle Grabber Aniv, whatever his name is, you all know the weird guy who kind of looks like, what's his name, Abraham Lincoln. He just can't stop talking about me, man. He earned the title shot after one of the worst fights of the year. Good on you. You gotta talk about someone, calling them a bum. Bum is insane for you. I'm a bum in no realm. We have common opponents, so we can measure the value of each of our games. each one of our fighting styles. Remember Santos? He dropped you and it went to a decision. You were hugging him and all those things. Yeah, I finished that guy. Remember when you got a title shot given when the belt was vacant and you fumbled it? Hill is, of course, referring to Ankalaev's forgettable bout with Jon Blachowicz for the vacant title back in December 2022, which was ultimately ruled a draw. While it's hard to deny that Hill's style is more fan-friendly, it's no surprise that Ankalaev is likely next in line for a title shot. He's currently riding a 13-fight undefeated streak. What's your take on Hill's comments here? Do you think he'll bounce back and score a win against Jiří? Next up, Alex Pereira reveals his new grappling skills. Everyone and their dog knows that Alex Pereira is one of the deadliest strikers on the planet, but the proof keeps piling up. Poatan is becoming a much more well-rounded fighter. Before Pereira became one of the UFC's biggest stars, the Brazilian had already made a name for himself as one of the most feared competitors in kickboxing. Not only did he claim titles in both the light heavyweight and middleweight divisions of Glory, but he also demolished several notable kickboxers, including Israel Adesanya. Since Pereira rose to fame through kickboxing, many have claimed he'd struggle against a skilled wrestler or grappler. However, Pereira has repeatedly brushed off that argument, stressing how hard he's been working to become a more complete fighter. Case in point, Chris Revas recently shared footage of Pereira honing his wrestling and jiu-jitsu skills.
Saca los prohibidos, mijo. Sí. Vamos, Mireiro.
Sure, Pereira was the much bigger man in that sparring session, but this isn't the first clip showing that the feared slugger is dedicating serious time to building his ground game. He's going to need it if he faces Magomed Ankalaev. All signs point to Pereira versus Ankalaev being the next big fight, though we're still waiting for an official date. Next up, PFL CEO shares an update on the highly anticipated Francis Ngannou versus Jon Jones showdown. Many fans and analysts have given up on the idea of Jon Jones facing Francis Ngannou, but according to PFL CEO Peter Murray, the only thing standing in the way of that dream fight is the UFC. After Ngannou blasted his way to the UFC's heavyweight crown in 2021 and successfully defended it in January 2022, it seemed like every day there was talk about a showdown between Bones and the Predator. The hype for the fight reached its peak when Jones announced he was vacating the light heavyweight title to chase the heavyweight crown and a clash with Ngannou. In the end, Ngannou never agreed to a new deal with the UFC and eventually signed with the PFL. Now that Ngannou is no longer on the UFC roster, most fans have let go of the hope that the fight will ever happen. However, ahead of the PFL's latest event in Saudi Arabia, PFL CEO Peter Murray was asked about the potential of a fight between the UFC's heavyweight champion and Ngannou. While the question was about Ngannou facing the winner of Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall, Murray kept his focus on Bones in his response. Yeah, we're supportive of it. Jon Jones wants the fight, Francis wants the fight, we want the fight, our partners here in Saudi want the fight. So, it really comes down to whether the UFC wants to step up to it or not. Of course, the majority of fight fans would love to see this showdown. Unfortunately, the odds of Ngannou facing Jones or Aspinall while either man is still under UFC contract are almost non-existent. On top of that, UFC President Dana White has continuously slammed Ngannou and made it clear he'll never work with the heavyweight again. After UFC 308 just last month, White was asked about the possibility of promoting Ngannou again, and his response was blunt. "We won't be. We'll never be in business together. You can tell we don't like each other." This goes back to before the first Stipe fight. He pulled some stuff before the first Stipe fight and I said, "I'm done with this guy." Then Stipe beat the out of him. Great night. We never had a relationship after that. The UFC remains the undisputed leader in the fight game, by a wide margin. While this matchup would rake in massive cash for both promotions, the UFC stands to lose far more than it would gain from a competitive perspective. The UFC wants to see the PFL struggle in the ratings, and if Ngannou were to face and knock out Jones, the PFL's audience would undoubtedly skyrocket. What's your take? Could we see a UFC versus PFL showdown if fans push hard enough for it, or will Dana White have to retire earlier than expected for that to ever become a reality. Next up, Aljamain Sterling and Grappling, ahead of UFC 310. UFC 310 is fast approaching, and Merab Dvalishvili is saying that his longtime teammate, Aljamain Sterling, has everything clicking for his upcoming fight. The former bantamweight champion is set to face undefeated rising featherweight contender Movsar Evloev. This will be Sterling's second fight at 145 pounds, since he lost the bantamweight title to Sean O'Malley in August 2023. Recently, Sterling's camp shared some intriguing footage of the Funk Master rolling with Dvalishvili. In the video, Dvalishvili revealed that Sterling absolutely dominated him once their sparring session hit the mat.
Aljamain is really strong. It's less than 2 weeks left, and today, this morning, he did bunch of rounds. This morning he did pads with Dennis. He was kicking, and he was sweating a lot like crazy this morning. And now he did a bunch of rounds jiu-jitsu too. He go 2 rounds with me. I cannot do anything. He was on top of me, control me, smash me, and that means that I'm just gonna smash his opponent. Even though his opponent really good, I have so much respect for Movsar Evloev. That's how fight game is, you know, strong guy wins.
Some might say Dvalishvili is just hyping up his friend and training partner, but Sterling's grappling credentials speak for themselves. Many world-class fighters have found themselves struggling in grappling exchanges with Sterling. On the flip side, Evloev has defeated all 8 of his UFC opponents so far, earning widespread acclaim for his wrestling and grappling abilities. Right now, betting lines have Evloev as a clear favorite, with odds ranging from -265 to -285 for him to win. Will Sterling hand Evloev his first loss, or will Evloev put a stop to Sterling's featherweight run with another victory? Tom Aspinall gives update on Jon Jones fight. A potential showdown between Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall, once thought unlikely, is now picking up steam as Jones gets back in the gym. In an exclusive interview with Bloody Elbow, Aspinall confidently stated that the fight is definitely going to happen. "I'm very confident that it's going to happen," Aspinall said. "Obviously, I've got to keep a lot of things under wraps. I've had conversations with the higher-ups in the UFC, and they're very confident it'll happen. I don't know about John's side, but on my side and the UFC's side, it's very likely." With the new year just around the corner, the UFC's calendar is wide open, making it more a question of when, not if, the fight will be booked. Recently, Aspinall sparred with Glory kickboxing champion Rico Verhoeven. In response to Conor McGregor's criticism of the sparring footage that was released, Verhoeven told MMA Junkie, "Come on, me and Tom, do you really think we're going to spar for real and share that on the internet? You've got to be kidding me. We've been playing this game for so long, and that's why we dominate. We outsmart everyone." If the Aspinall vs. Jones fight gets finalized, it'll be fascinating to see if Verhoeven joins Aspinall's camp to help him prepare for the showdown. Jon Jones took to social media to address the allegations that Tom Aspinall is ducking him once again. He responded to a fan who claimed that success is when he stops ducking Aspinall, to which Jon replied, "Sure, call me a duck for the next year. Eventually, Tom will lose within the next 2 or 3 fights, and my legacy will go on as the greatest MMA fighter ever. End of story." He then responded to another fan who asked if he's retiring, saying, "I'd probably vacate the belt before officially retiring. Let's see how my meeting with the UFC goes." Jon then tweeted, addressing all of his followers, "Crazy how being called a duck pays better than most of you internet tough guys will make in a lifetime. 2 fights in 4 years and still one of the biggest names in the sport. That's not ducking, that's winning. God's blessings hit different. Stay mad." Is Drikus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev next? Drikus du Plessis is taking a unique approach to his training lately. While most expect DDP to defend his title against Sean Strickland next, the champion is well aware that Khamzat Chimaev is lurking, ready for his own shot at the title. From the looks of things, du Plessis is preparing for either contender. According to the CIT Performance Institute, where the champion trains, he's having his training partners grow beards and shout, "I kill everybody," before sparring sessions to get himself ready for a possible showdown with Chimaev. Chimaev is also putting in serious work at the gym, preparing for a potential title shot after his dominant win over Robert Whittaker in Abu Dhabi. That victory had fans buzzing, calling for him to get the next crack at the title. Given DDP's recent decision to have his training partners grow beards, and the fact that the champ seems more eager for the fight with Chimaev than a rematch with Strickland, only time will tell how the 185-pound title picture unfolds. Alex Pereira fired back at Jamahal Hill on Twitter saying, "Calm down, my son. Pass this test and Dad will give you a second chance." He also shared a picture of Jamahal Jamahal Hill facing off against Jiří Procházka. Jamahal quickly responded to this comment saying, "Beat it. Funny how you rushed a little Roundtree and dumb fury like you were the man, but waited until the refs got in the way to swing at me. You will see me again at 100% soon, and we both know the fear that was in your heart." One fan quickly chimed in saying, "Hill needs to chill with this false narrative. P only knocked him out because the ref got in the way. The ref got in the way, then Hill threw a punch at P first. Then P threw his punch and KO'd him. Hill throwing the first punch means he was ready and was fighting." Jamahal shot back, writing, "On camera, he closes the distance during the break, cutting off my right side, and Herb steps behind me, cutting my left side, and says, 'Fight.' If you don't think that plays a factor with somebody that has power, you don't know fighting. Like I said a million times, not an excuse, just what happened. I should not have shown sportsmanship to somebody that had none and stayed locked in. My mistake, and it won't happen again."